Mrs. Etta Horn is a leader of the welfare rights movement. Their principle and their overwhelming complaint is that there simply is not enough money to raise a family, and then that it's given in a self-defeating and self-perpetuating way, that it degrades the people who receive it.
I have children. I look in my kids' face, and I think, am I going to really prove to them where it starts at? You know, they're always screaming about delinquents. American Welfare Department makes delinquents.
Welcome back to another episode of The Divide. Before I get into today's topic, I just wanted to do a quick recap of everything we've covered thus far, starting with episode 1. Where do we start? In the first episode, Les Brown told us that our culture is the things that govern our behavior. We live within the context of the stories we believe about ourselves. He also gave us 3 very important things to know in order to make it in life. Number 1 being to develop our mind, because you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Number 2, people rub off on you, which is why you should practice OQP, only quality people. Sidney Poitier says that when you walk with someone, something unspoken happens. Either you match their pace or they match yours. Whose pace have you adjusted to? And most importantly, number 3, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you begin to tell the world who you are. We talked about the negative imagery that Black women have had to carry for centuries now, and what we can and should do to change the narrative surrounding Black women, especially our image. And we talked about the lack of a sisterhood within the Black community and why it's important that we should have one. And when I speak of a sisterhood, I'm not talking about us standing on a hill holding a glass bottle of soda. I'm speaking of a sisterhood where there is a consensus, a common goal, and benefits that come with it, not just a local group. There needs to be a mindset shift. In episode 2, we discussed the adultification of little Black girls that creates an implicit bias against us, which may be the cause Black mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. Black girls are never seen as innocent, sweet little girls, and the contentious relationships a lot of little Black girls have with their own hair. And finally, the last episode, the Black male versus the Black female. We talked about how the CIA, through Gloria Steinem, created a hateful and virulent strain of Black feminism. We started reading a personal diary entry essentially by Michelle Wallace, and now we're all caught up. So now I'll continue reading some parts of the book, but some of us are brave. In 1968, when I was 16, and the term Black consciousness was becoming popular, I started wearing my hair natural again. This time I ignored my elders. I was too busy reshaping my life. Blackness, I reasoned, meant that I could finally be myself. It took me 3 years to fully understand that Stokely was serious when he said my position in the movement was prone. 3 years to understand that the countless speeches that all began, "the Black man," did not include me. I learned. I mingled more and more with the Black crowd, attended the conferences and rallies and parties, and talked with some of the most loquacious of my brothers in Blackness. And as I pieced together the ideal that was being presented for me to emulate, I discovered my newfound freedoms being stripped from me, one after another. In the theater's brand of consciousness raising session, I was told of the awful ways in which Black women, me included, had tried to destroy the Black man's masculinity, how we had castrated him, worked when he didn't work, made money when he made no money, spent our nights and days in church praying to a jive white boy named Jesus while he collapsed into alcoholism, drug addiction, and various forms of despair. How we'd always been too loud and domineering, too outspoken. We had much to make up for by being gentle in the face of our own humiliation, by being soft spoken, ideally to the point where our voices could not be heard at all, by being beautiful, whatever that was, by being submissive. How often that word was shoved at me in poems and in songs as something to strive for. Older black women are too hard, my brothers informed me as they looked me up and down. The message of the black movement was that I was being watched, on probation as a black woman, that any signs of aggressiveness, intelligence, or independence would mean I'd be denied even the one role still left open to me as my man's woman, keeper of house, children, and incense burners. I grew increasingly desperate about slipping up. They, black men, were threatening me with being deserted, with being alone. Like any normal woman, I eagerly grabbed at my own enslavement. Enough was enough. I had left Howard for City College after one term, and the significance of all I'd seen there had not entirely escaped me, because I remember becoming a feminist about then. No one had been doing very well when I had left New York, but now it seemed even worse. The new blackness was fast becoming the new slavery for sisters. Here was the logic behind our grandmother's old saying, a nigga man ain't shit. It was shorthand for the black man has learned to hate himself and to hate you even more. Be careful, he will hurt you. Whenever I raised the question of a black woman's humanity in conversation with a black man, I got a similar reaction. Black men, at least the ones I knew, seemed totally confounded when it came to treating black women like people. Young black female friends of mine were dropping out of school because their boyfriends had convinced them that it was not correct and counter-revolutionary to strive to do anything but have babies and clean house. Help the brother get his thing together, they were told. Other black women submitted to polygamous situations where sometimes they were called upon to sleep with the friends of their husband, quote unquote. The sisters got along by keeping their mouths shut, by refusing to see what was daily growing more difficult to ignore. A lot of brothers were doing double time, uptown with the sisters and downtown with the white women, whom they always vigorously claimed to hate. Some of the bolder brothers were quite frank about it. The white woman lets me be a man. I know that the white man made the white woman the symbol of freedom and the black woman the symbol of slavery. From Soul on Ice by Eldridge Cleaver. In Ebony Jet and Encore, and even in the New York Times, various black writers cautioned black women to be wary of smiling white feminists. The women's movement enlists the support of black women only to lend credibility to an essentially middle-class, irrelevant movement, they asserted. Time has shown that there was more truth to these claims than their shrillness indicated. So it was common knowledge by the 50s and 60s that the welfare program created delinquents. There was nothing good about it, and nobody wanted anything to do with it if they could avoid it. And Michelle Wallace gave an excellent account, in my opinion, of how the black movement from the 70s was for a young black woman. And she happens to be dark skinned. I think she said that, and I've been reading so much stuff, I'm sorry. But I like how she said that black women were on a probation. They were constantly being threatened with being deserted and left alone if they didn't act right. Any slip up, any sign of aggressiveness, intelligence, independence would render them single. And, a lot of that is still going on today. I'm not defending the typical or stereotypical black female attitude. I'm not doing that. I don't agree with it, but being a human being with logic, I can understand why black women with bad attitudes would have them. Like, I totally get it. It doesn't mean that they should, but hell, I understand. But back to the point, the men during that time dealt with their oppression in any way that they saw fit. And the black women were expected to help their man get his thing together. But at the same time, they didn't want her to be independent or make money because that made them feel like that made them feel castrated in a way, like what she said in that excerpt. They said that black women were trying to destroy the black man's masculinity by making money and working when he didn't. So I don't understand how they think someone can help you get your thing together if no one has money. And welfare is, oh boy, what a headache. But I really hope you can understand that black women had a reason. They had a necessity for a woman's movement because I'm saying we are double minorities. Because even if you are black, if you're not a woman, you can make moves, you can do things. But for you to be black and a woman, what a cross to bear. And she even admitted that during her little women's groups that they were trying to form, they never worked out because all the women wanted a man. She herself, she just wanted a man. So it's not like they wanted to be single and destroy patriarchy. That wasn't the hill they were on. They just wanted humanity. They wanted to be treated like human beings. And they wanted a man. And I think Michelle Wallace, I think she's really misunderstood. Whenever a black woman talks about a woman's movement and all that, I don't think she should be grouped together with, the mainstream feminism because it's totally different. We're treated differently than any other race, than any other group of women. We are definitely, I would say, mistreated by our male counterparts, generally speaking. But I'm going to go ahead and close. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy. Take care. I'll be back with the next part, hopefully sooner than later. Bye-bye.